Ah, there you are. The introduction to this video is all about lifting track, changing it, repositioning it, putting in new points, and we've had to do this for the whole of the top half of my layout. Here we go. From the far end of the track down there, everything is running very nicely, and then when we get to this section here, this is where things are not running very nicely at all. We have the problem where that particular piece of track on that side is too tight. Now, as you can see from the piece of cardboard I put into a piece of flexi track, that's taken from a section on the other side of the layout where it works quite well. This point, this is the new point. It's a Y point, it's a long Y, and the long Y hopefully is going to solve my problem. In that position, I only have to move this track over a little bit and that track this way a little bit. So I'm hoping that's going to solve my problem. When we get the inner rail, inner track, obviously that also is going to have to come round here and meet up with existing points, which I think it will do quite easily. So that's what's going to happen, and I'm going to start ripping the track up now. I always remove my track pins every time when I do the ballast. So what I've got to do this time, I'm going to cut a section out of the rail so I can spring it from either end, and luckily just there is my bus wire coming up from underneath, so I should do it to the right of that and cut out a section like that, I think. I apologise for any true carpenters out there, but my days of using chisels are long gone, so I'm very sorry, but it's done its job. Those of a certain age will remember this type of knife, and my goodness, to get that up, it's an absolute cinch. Absolutely beautiful stainless steel, Sheffield, beautiful. Well, there's the first section gone, cleaned up. Just in case you're wondering, I use a 2mm sort of squashable foam for my underlay. I think it works okay. I buy it in a sheet, lay the whole sheet down over the whole baseboard, put the track down, then cut the surplus away, which gives me the normal sort of nice little edge slope to the ballast. So let's Dremel this off. So this is the point of no return. I had to cut away, and the same that side, so that I could get the new point in. But how good is it going to be? Okay, I'm going to move it half a rail in each direction. That's that one that way, that one that way. The angle of this track has to be roughly where that black line is, and so that's not very good. The reason being because this point has to come across this way a bit more, and that means that that junction there, I've got to cut that rail back more so that this point can skew. Wish me luck. My biggest problem has always been that curve at the top over there, where the engines 462s or whatever used to jam. well, now they don't, which is good, apart from the fact that if they have to do anything else, then unfortunately they get stuck when it comes back. As soon as it gets to this point here, isn't that typical? It wouldn't do it that time. What happens is the curvature at this point here is almost not running well. You can just see it just looks as though this kinks in, and I think that the problem is this point is too long. So I have an alternative idea, which is to put a shorter point in. So the point will start there, which means that the straight bit, it'll go straight to that point, and then it will go around the corner to there, which means that as an engine comes this way, it's going to enter the point at a straight, which is going to stop that engine or any of the other engines going funny and coming off at that point. So this is not a very good one, so I have to go and get myself another one, and hopefully that will solve the problem. With a normal electric frog point, the normal system is that you connect up your electric frog or your point motor to this bit here. You cut those two little solder bits there, and then you connect up your own dropper wire to either point, and all wired up and raring to go. So that's what it looks like at the back. The one I'm doing at the moment, which is going to be the new one to go near the tunnel for my relaying of my track, was a bit different. When I looked on the back, I have no little wire sticking up to connect the point motor or the frog juicer to. These are connected to that point there, which is where the actual lines cross over, and there's nothing to cut out. So I looked on the instructions and I couldn't see what to do, to be honest with you. So using the old way, I've soldered a wire onto that section there. I've managed to get two droppers to go on that side and that side, and I'm hoping that that is going to be sufficient to get this new point to work properly. Let's fit it and see what happens. Just a little tip: when you've marked a hole, marked where you want to put a hole for your wires, if you just get this little, it's just got a point on the end of it. I'm afraid I don't know what it's called. You just put that there, and when you've made that mark, then when you put your drill in, it won't jump out and go somewhere else. So here we go. This is the one that always had the trouble. But now clearing it really nicely. Still got this one to worry about a little bit, because this track has been pulled over a bit, and because of this point, which is mechanically linked to that point, I can't move that. That's stuck. So this is just going to be a little bit tight when we get to joining them up and being sort of side by side. That's just a bit of old set track put in there just to see. I've got to be honest, I did try with this device that keeps them nice and parallel, the original run was as using that device. The two carriages, my two longest ones, which are the Pullmans, a Pullman passing a Pullman, was not very good. They virtually could have been a millimetre or two apart. So as you can see by that dotted line there, that's where it was. So I've had to pull it in a little bit further, and now it works very, very well. The resighting of this point to make this curve easier to traverse has worked very well. This curve, unfortunately, when it came into this point here, just kept derailing. So I have crossover point there, and when we go around into the big station area, those two curves, that one there and this one here, are both good, really nice and gentle. So what I have to do, I've got to remove that point and remove that point, and I'm going to replace them. I have two new Pico points, so they're going to go in that position. It's quite a good idea really, because I've always had a little bit of a problem just about here. I've never worked out what it is, so that's going to be replaced as well. The whole point system is going to be moved back to about there. Now what that does, it moves this position back about here, so we're going to get a straight run going into the curve rather than going from the point straight into the curve. That just hasn't worked for me. So I've got to get underneath now where all the wiring is, and I've got to disconnect all my point wiring. Back to you soon. Well, I've now inserted the new points, which is good news, and everything runs over them really well. The point motors working a lot better than they did before. It was my first attempt to put a crossover in, and a couple of years ago, and it never really worked 100%. Exactly the same as the point motors, those sort of there, and the other two on the other side, never really worked perfectly, but now they do. Basically because what I did with these, I put them on pieces of cardboard so that they're now exactly level with the track, which made it a lot better. So that side of it has been done and finished. We now run out the other one, and you'll be able to see that one running in a second. Look, progress has now been made at the top end of the layout. Now this line was going around here, was connecting up to that point there. That lined up with that one. That is point motor to go in. And now this is the half bend point, which is a set track. I tried to transpose it into a live frog, but it didn't work. I couldn't do it. So what's happened now, as the train comes up, this is where we go into where the goods yard is. So the actual building itself going to be something like that. So that'll be trains going in there. Coal depot, that's where that's going. And then what I've also done here, this is just a head shunt in a way, but I expect I'm going to have something dead in there that's rusty and horrible, has never moved. But when a loco comes along this line, and has to go up that line to pick up a rake of carriages, then having this ability to go up there is just another little angle. So that's basically how the far end of my layout is looking at the moment. When the layout's completed, all of this section here is going to be on sidings, because that's the area I'd like to sort of play with, if you know what I mean, making up trains and stuff like that. So I then had a little problem of trying to fit a point motor in. Now that point motor is going to operate that particular point, which is okay. Couldn't get a point motor in here because it's on a curve. So what I've done, I've just put some piano wire along there. I've put a couple of tacks down there either side, track pins, just to keep it level, and it's now operated with just a simple push or pull, and then that moves the point. So simple, nice and easy. Now this is going to be disguised somehow. I don't know how, but it's easy enough to cover something as thin as that up without any problem at all. So that's going to be how that particular point is going to operate.
Well, this is almost the end of this video number 44. Quite a few backgrounds to show you. I'm not sure which one to choose. It's going to go behind that end of the layout we've just been looking at. Thanks to everybody who's subscribed. There are quite a few new ones. I'm sorry this video is such a long length of time, and I'm sorry it's a bit tedious, but there was a lot to do. Thanks everyone. Comments welcome. Subscribe if you like. Look forward to giving you another video when we do the ballasting or something like that. Many thanks. Bye for now. Keep safe.